Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of B-Bell by Barossa here live from the Mecca. I'm very happy to be standing next to a good friend, my client, Matt Cook, who just recently came off of not just a heavyweight victory at the Titan Grand Prix, but an overall victory at the Titan Grand Prix, where he pretty much beat everybody. So we were very, very excited because this was his first year back on stage. We'll talk to him more later about that. But what we're going to do today, what we have him here for today, is we're going to do some of my favorite unilateral or single-sided movements for you guys to try out. As you guys may or may not know, I love doing at least some unilateral movements every single workout, because working one side of the body at a time lets you have a little bit more focus on that side, helps you to even out strength imbalances. It also causes better nerve force to that side of the body, so you might even get more development and hit more muscle fibers that way. So we show you some movements. There are some basic movements. We're not going to really show those. We're going to show a little bit more unusual movements, something you may not have seen before that you can incorporate into your workouts. Hope you guys enjoy it. Okay, so this movement is something I love for the chest because it really hits those inner chest fibers, as you can see. It's a single-sided seated chest press machine. So as you can see, has his body angled into the machine. So basically he's going to be pressing across his body rather than straight out. And what this does is it actually really crunches one pectoral into the other. And while we can't isolate the inner chest, we can hit the inner chest fibers a little bit harder. So he's going to come into a full squeeze. He's going to get the arm across as much as he possibly can. He makes sure that he's sitting in the seat that allows him to get his arm across his body, and he's coming back as far as he can before he starts the next rep. Great for the inner chest. Okay, so this is what I call a one-arm Merlin Row. As you can see, we're doing on an incline bench. And what he's doing, he's going to set his body towards the side of the bench of whatever arm we're using, in this case the left-hand side. As you can see, he's gripping the dumbbell all the way to the top of the dumbbell so the dumbbell tips backward towards the hip. We're doing this because we actually want him to row in that direction. He's rowing towards the hip to activate the lats rather than the rear delts. With his other arm, he actually secures himself around the bench, so he kind of hugs the bench and keeps himself locked in that position. He's going to full stretch. He's coming back towards the hip, getting a full contraction. This is a great way to build the outer lats more width. Okay guys, this is a great one for the biceps. Really, really isolates the biceps well. This is an upper arm cable curl. As you can see, he positions his body on the bench and he's actually leaning away from the cable, and he's raising his arm up at an angle that's pretty much going straight up towards the cable, and he's not letting that elbow drop. This is very, very important because as he curls, he's going to be using pure bicep strength. He's not going to be using the shoulder in any way to move the weight. So he's really just almost like doing a single arm front double bicep pose, and he's trying to curl as if he was trying to curl behind his head. This will give him a much better contraction at the end. Make sure you keep that elbow in the position at the same time. Get a full range of motion. Don't stop short. Go all the way straight, and a full contraction at the top for a second or two. Awesome bicep movement. Okay, great movement for the rear or the posterior deltoids. We're going to do a standing, sort of like a reverse rear delt fly, using one arm at a time, obviously, since it's unilateral. As you can see, he has the cable set up pretty much even with his shoulder level. If he would set it up too high, he'd be working more traps and rear delts. So he's actually going to come around his body in an arc, getting a full range of motion, but he's only going back so far that the rear delt activates and not the mid-trap. Then he comes back across his body, almost across his face, to put the posterior deltoid at full stretch. This is a great movement if you're having trouble building those rear deltoids. You get a lot better back double bicep shot, a lot more depth in the upper back. Give it a shot. So here we have a lying tricep extension, obviously using one arm at a time, and I love doing this way as opposed to the barbell, mostly because you can get an increased range of motion. Some people will actually go behind the head with lying tricep extension, but still, you have to clear the back of the head, and it can be hard. With the dumbbell, it goes down to the side of the head. Now, I want you to notice that his elbow is not straight up to the ceiling. It's actually angled back a bit, which helps him to get a little bit better of a stretch at the bottom. Also, when he brings the weight to the top, there's more gravity that's pulling on the dumbbell because the arm is angled back, so he's going to get a better contraction. This is a great mass-building movement for the triceps, so give it a shot if you need some bigger, thicker triceps to go with your biceps.
All right, Biggie. That was a good one.
Thanks, brother. Yeah, I'm very glad that we had Matt here for demonstrate some.
I know. I'm glad you came, Matt. Thanks for making the drive from the valley for this.
Of course, anytime.
Yeah. And then you had to not eat too much, of course, so you could stay in shape to do it. Are you gonna go eat after this, or?
Man, I'm not really craving anything right now.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, maybe a sandwich.
Well, let's talk about the
pie. Right?
Yeah, pie.
Like
It's always pie. You like pie.
Let's talk about the big win, guys.
Well, I'm gonna let Matt talk about it. I mean, we hadn't worked together for a while, and
how How long was the hiatus?
It's probably a year.
A year?
Probably a year. We didn't work together, and then he asked me earlier this year to start working with him again, and we targeted 2 shows, the Amateur Olympia, and then just one more show after that, which he just did, the Titan. And so far, it's been a good year.
Yeah,
so
been
far,
great year.
especially because you haven't been on stage for a long time, and you had a torn pec and a lot of stuff.
Yeah,
But
talk about that. You had
talk
an
about
injury,
it.
Matt. So
Yeah, so we were together in 2017, right?
Yeah, I think we did the Excalibur. That's when we won.
Yeah.
Excalibur.
So we did 2017, and then January of 2018, I tore my right pec off. So that took me out for the whole year right there. Just had to rehab it, get the surgery reconnected, all that fun stuff. Once that was all healed up and good to go, pretty much beginning of 2019 when it was 100%, started rebuilding it, trying to bring the imbalances back out and everything like that. Then started picking out show dates, things like that. You know, made a few mistakes as far as getting ready in the beginning of the year. But once Merlin and I hooked up back up again, we got back on track, and yeah, it was just snowballed from there.
can you
Moved right into
tell
it,
a difference between the hurt pec versus the injured pec versus the other one, or can you?
You know, the surgeon did a really good job.
Yeah.
They reconnected in the right spot, so I was very, very happy with him.
Oh,
I was
nice.
actually skeptical of the guy at first.
That's a
It
big
seemed
muscle
kinda
group.
Like he was kind of
Yeah.
cuckoo,
Yeah.
you know, but he was awesome. Actually connected really good. I mean, I have a little bit of gnarly scar tissue in there, but you know, you can't see it from the stage, so it's all good. But the funny thing is, it's not really funny, but it is in hindsight, was when I was 22, I was a strongman. I used to compete in professional strongman in my early 20s. And when I was doing that, I actually tore my left pec off.
Oh,
So
shit.
that was a bad deal. And, you know, back then I lifted like an idiot. I was, you know, like strength.
Like
strength
most 20
training.
years old.
Exactly, like a 20-year-old. And so that one was just stupid. That one was just dumb. This one, when I tore this one off, it was from compensation taking over for this one.
Oh.
I actually corrected the way I worked out years ago as far as nothing sloppy, everything controlled, everything's about contraction, hypertrophy.
Sounds good.
Yeah, exactly. So when this one went, it was just overused, compensated from this side, imbalanced. So it was just ready to go. Unfortunately, it happens. But this one right here, when they connected this one back on, they didn't put it in the right spot. It was about ½ inch off. So on this one, you actually can tell from when I was 22. This one is in the right spot. So in a few poses, you know, I gotta angle things just a little bit so they look even. But you can't really tell unless you're really staring. But if I
Yeah, you
angle
would know, but
myself-
most people probably don't even think it without looking. So.
Yeah, exactly. So as long as I, you know, on stage, if I can just angle myself right, hopefully the judges don't dock me for it or anything like that. But besides that, I mean, everyday life, unless you're staring, you won't be able to tell.
Talk about competing at the Olympia Amateur, because that was a big deal.
And that was,
I mean, you did the USA a few times and other
Yeah.
national shows. So talk about the difference between the Olympia and the.
Olympia was awesome.
Yeah.
It was. I really liked it. It was my favorite national show that I've done so far, and I think the reason why was because it wasn't just the U.S. It was worldwide. So the competition was stiff. You know, they had pros from other countries on stage with me. It was fun.
It was like 40 guys in your class.
Yeah.
Wow.
And
How did you finish?
I was 10th.
Wow, that's
Yeah,
pretty
so
good.
finished
First show
top
back.
10.
Yeah.
First show back after my chest hair came in top 10 at a national show. I was very stoked, especially one of that caliber. You know, with international pros on stage and everything like that. Such a big class. It was intense.
So you were happy,
I was
even
very
though
happy.
you were
I was very happy.
Awesome.
And, you know, I gotta say, you know, one thing that irritates me about competitors is they step off stage and they start saying how they got robbed and everything else like that. You know, judges, they have a pretty hard deal. They're watching the stage hours and hours and hours and hours. But when I was up there, I was second call out, and I'm standing right behind the front line. I'm looking at these guys. I'm like, man, this is very fair. These guys beat me hands down. You know, I mean, it might have been close. I do think I probably placed a few places higher than I did, but at the same time, those guys were solid. You know, they came in on point. They were good. I think the judges had a solid call out. So coming in 10th, I was extremely happy with.
So how did you? Do you feel like you looked even better at the show after that? Did you have time to make progress, and was that?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, that was the first one back.
Yeah.
You know, and we sucked down pretty hard.
Yeah.
And we were sucked down trying to fill up on that one. So I came in on stage at that one, and then the next one, we were super full. We were so full that we had to cut down into stage. You know, the day I weighed in, the day before the show, you know, it was before we cut water or anything, and I would have been very well into the super heavyweight class if you know, that would have happened. That
You were
way.
like 234. You weighed in.
Yeah,
Wow.
we were 234.
And you weighed in only at 214 or something in the Arnold.
The Olympia, I stepped on stage at 215 at the Olympia.
Wow.
Yeah,
Big difference.
Yeah, huge difference. So when I stepped on stage at the Titans last weekend, I was on stage at 225.
So it's solid 10
So
pounds.
10 pounds, and you could see it too. You know, I was bigger, I was rounder, I wasn't flat or depleted. It was great. It was really great. My body was done. You know, it was tired of cutting. You know, the pre-judging was brutal too. It was quite the showdown they had us up there on. So it was, it took me out. It was fun.
So Biggie, what's the plan for this guy next? What do you guys want to do?
Well, I mean, right now he's still. In the previous time that we worked together, he actually at one point we had him up to nearly 260, and in a hard condition at 260. He had lost a lot of muscle mass in 2019 early on. When I took him on, and he showed me his pictures, it didn't look like the same Matt that I was working with. So it kind of like put me in a quandary because I kind of like had to, while getting ready for a show, I kind of felt like I needed to recover his muscle mass. But at the same time, Matt is a conditioned person, and I'm obviously, I want people to be in best condition, but he really wanted to focus on condition. So it was kind of challenging. That's why he came in a little bit lighter, but I was very happy with his condition. So really right now, and then what I did is I fed him a little bit more for the next show because I knew that he needed to be,
Once he was in shape,
could
let's
be
say.
fuller.
Yeah.
So I knew that we had a good position to work from, and I wanted to try things a little bit differently, and it worked really well. Like you said, it was at least 10 pounds heavier, and I don't know if his body fat was lower or not, but because he was fuller, the muscles were pushing out against the skin on
looks like he's
stage,
leaner.
that he looked leaner and harder, the more striations and veins and stuff. So what we really need to do now is I'm just letting him recover a little bit after the show, and as soon as he feels ready, we need to launch into the off season or progress season, I'd like to call it, and really put that muscle back on. I'd like to get him back up into the 250s in good condition, so that when we start dieting, we're around there. And then I think we're going to do, I think maybe the USA will be the first show, or
Actually,
we're
I want to hit 3 national shows next year.
Yeah, he wants to hit 3 national shows. I believe you talked to Steve Weinberger about that.
Yeah,
He
yeah.
said it was a good idea for him to hit multiple shows. So we're gonna just start preparing. The goal is a pro card. I mean, it is. That's just basically what we're doing this for.
Yep.
But I need to, my coaching, what I need to do is put the size on him and give him the size necessary, because I believe Matt is meant to be with his height. He really needs to be a super heavyweight. And while, we have no, aspirations to have him weigh 290 on stage, but I think a Matt at a good 235 to 240 shredded can stand up there with the best super heavyweights in the country and get his pro card. So we got to just build some good solid muscle, no sloppy weight whatsoever, just solid muscle, and give us a good starting spot to diet from next year.
So no more injury, man.
No more injury.
You're forbidden.
I know. Well, I'll tell you, you learn a lot from mistakes. You're supposed to, at least, right? But when you make a mistake, hopefully you learn from it and you don't do it again. But I've changed a lot, not just in my training, but in my supplementation and stretching and massage and everything. I really, I spend a lot of money on food. Food is my biggest expense, more than any other expense in my life. Next to that is supplements. I take things from my joints, I take things from my liver, my kidney, blood pressure, circulation, everything. Everything has to stay healthy. It's crazy.
I have a question for you. Do you spend more than $700 a month on supplements?
Easy.
Really?
Yeah.
So you beat Brad Rowe. That's how much he spends on supplements.
Easy.
And he had a whole pharmacy on his counter. I thought it wasn't possible to take any more.
You know
of it.
what is expensive, and I know this myself because after I had my heart attack, I spent all kinds of tremendous amounts of money on supplements, for anti-inflammation and everything to make sure. So yeah, it can add up.
It adds up quick.
Wow.
It definitely can add up, but
If you count the...
it's worth it.
Another thing is I'm not a big fan of protein powder. None of it really sits well in my stomach, so I like drinking egg whites instead of protein powder.
Yeah.
It's just such a pure protein, and it's so easy to get down. There's no shaking. It tastes just like water.
So you save some money on protein powder.
Well, you'd think so, but egg whites are
egg whites is more expensive.
Egg whites
yeah.
are more expensive. So if you calculate that in as a supplement, since I use it instead of protein powder, it'd be even more than that.
So the goal is to turn him
It's
pro
crazy.
and then get him like a contract with like Ralph's Supermarket, so they could just walk in and just
Costco.
They would lose money with him.
Ralph's, Costco would be awesome.
With
like, oh
everybody
no,
will
Matt's back.
They'd go out of business.
Great.
Yeah.
The chicken's gone, the fish is gone, the
I'm at
meat is
Costco,
gone.
Ralph's, and
Jeez.
Sprouts. Those are my 3.
Hey, but
Sprouts
that's what
every
it is to be a bodybuilder. You have to spend a lot of
Yeah.
money on food, especially when you're a super heavyweight that size. You eat a lot.
Oh yeah. I mean, per week, I probably spend about $300 on groceries
Wow.
just for myself.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Yeah, it's nuts.
All right, man. Well, congratulations on the win. I was really happy for you, and thanks for coming today. Biggie, good luck in the next season, you two guys, and I'm sure we'll see him back on the show, as we get closer to his next
Absolutely.
outing. So,
Thank you.
Awesome.
All
Appreciate
right,
it, man.
all right,
Thanks,
anytime,
bud.
guys.